welcome to the show. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new review. So what's in store for you here tonight? Well, it might be a new month, but there are still movies from last month that we got to get to that are still in theaters right now for you all to see. So tonight in movie reviews, I'm going to be talking Death of a Unicorn. But let's not waste any time and jump right on into things. If you haven't seen the trailer for this one before, Death of the Unicorn tells the story of Elliot and his daughter Ridley, who are spending a week at his boss's estate to finalize a promotion for him. But when en route, the two get into an accident and end up killing a unicorn. A fateful discovery will find all parties fighting for their lives before the night ends. And there it is, y'all. That is Death of a Unicorn. Now, right up the jump, coming off films dealing with loss like The Woman in the Yard that I talked about earlier this week, Elevation, The Monkey, and Presence, it was nice to get something lighthearted dealing with the subject. Like, sure, The Monkey was fun and it was tongue-in-cheek, but it's very much done in the realm of Final Destination. And the problem is that it's kind of hard to really look at that as being lighthearted when you know that the whole thing is that we're just counting down until somebody is elaborately killed in a very, very gruesome way. Like, there's going to be a lot of anxiety with a film like that. So this is decidedly different from all these other films we've had recently that, again, have to do directly with the loss of somebody and how we're dealing with that. Now, this will probably be seen, I'm saying probably, like look at the name of the movie, this is going to be seen as an outlandish concept. But even with that, the story is still relatively simple. This father-daughter duo, played by Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega, end up accidentally killing a unicorn, and they find out that its blood has healing properties. So Rudd's boss, played by Richard E. Grant, decides that, you know what? We got to exploit this and make as much money as we can. And this incurs the wraths of the other unicorns that are in the area. And again, it's such a ridiculous, outlandish concept that you are either going to be on board with it right away or you are checked out completely. Quite honestly, what it gave me flashbacks and memories to was Boots Riley's film, Sorry to Bother You. Now, it's been over a decade on that one, but I still don't want to really spoil the twist on it because it's such a good film. But if you haven't seen that one, that movie sets itself up for being something decidedly different, talking about black labor in the white world today. And then about halfway through, the shoe drops and we find out what's really going on underneath the surface. And you have to commit 100% or you're just done. And Death of the Unicorn doesn't like slowly like get you into it at all. Death of the Unicorn, like I think we're given about 6 or 7 minutes from the time the movie starts before we're thrown right in and expected to just accept what's happening. And it almost played a little bit like From Dusk Till Dawn to me because, you know, there's that whole point after everything just goes down badly at the titty twister. And George Clooney's having this conversation about, I don't want to hear that you don't believe in vampires because I don't fucking believe in vampires. And it's like the same thing here with Death of the Unicorn. And of course, there are other films that deal with that, like, oh, these creatures shouldn't exist, but they do exist. How do we approach that? But From Dusk Till Dawn's just going off in my mind throughout the runtime of this film, honestly, as like all the people in the cast are forced to get over their disbelief and understand that they're looking at a unicorn literally right in front of them. But it doesn't change the fact that, just like From Dusk Till Dawn, they will underestimate the situation and the grave danger that they are actually in. Now, the other part of this story chooses to put a focus on the repairing of the relationship between Rudd and Ortega's characters. And unfortunately, I actually found that aspect to be falling flat here due to how much Rudd's character just acts out of pocket, out of turn, out of character throughout the entire film. You know, there's this idea, like not an idea, like we're obviously given the point that these two characters are not close, that you know, they might be father and daughter, but the death of Rudd's wife, Ortega's mother, very much put this distance in between them that they have not been able to get over or find a common ground on yet. And of course, I think the expectation would be is throughout the film, these two will slowly start to bond. They'll start to learn more about each other, and these grave circumstances that they're in will repair this relationship, put them back together. And sure, parts of that definitely do happen, but they don't necessarily feel well deserved. Ortega's doing her job, Rudd's doing his job as well too. It's the script that doesn't really serve them as well as it could, because Ortega very clearly has her character stating the information that everybody needs to pay attention to in regards to why the unicorns are dangerous, what's ultimately going to happen, what she's looking for in the relationship with Rudd's character. All this gets laid out plainly. Rudd very clearly, his character understands this, but still makes these opposite choices for as much as he possibly can throughout this film. And it just doesn't really match up with it, because Rudd's character is not shown to necessarily be like this evil, mean-spirited, rude, terrible person, but yet he just goes along with so much of it that's happening in the film, and it just doesn't serve the relationship between the two all that well, honestly. Going along with the bad guys for a bit longer than what you expect hurts the character more than it does really actually serve it. And it doesn't help the fact that it also feels that this film likely should have been about 15 to 20 minutes shorter than what it was. Like, there's some extra parts that sure add some laughs to it, but it does feel like this could have been trimmed down a little bit more, a little bit tighter, and much more enjoyable at that point. Now, recently, I said that the film The Parenting set a pretty high bar for ensemble work in horror films, because the cast of that one, Brian Cox, Edie Franco, Dean Norris, Lisa Kudrow, Parker Posey, like, that cast was phenomenal. Everybody understood the assignment, and they did wonders with that script. And it's the same thing here with Death of a Unicorn. Again, I mentioned Paul Rudd, Jenna Ortega, Richard E. Grant, but Will Poulter, Téa Leoni, and especially Anthony Carrigan. This cast for sure make sure they all get a chance to shine throughout the film. And y'all, it's crazy to think that Anthony Carrigan still feels like a well-kept secret out here, because y'all, if you haven't gone and watched Barry, amongst a bunch of other things that he's shown up in, he's going to be in this summer's Superman as Metamorpho. But if you haven't watched Barry and you haven't seen just the absolute joy of NoHo Hank, you need to change that, because Anthony Carrigan is fantastic in everything he does. But this cast is so good. You know, I always love getting to see Téa Leoni pop up and stuff, because that woman is hilarious. She has such great comedic timing, and anytime she's put into a comedy, like, she kills at drama for sure, but anytime she puts in gets put into a comedy, she absolutely comes correct on things every time. Will Poulter has just shown these chops for years at this point. It's kind of crazy to think that We're the Millers is as old as it is now, because that movie is still great. He is still so good in it, and yet he is an entirely different person who has really come into his own as a young actor and has so many great roles ahead of him, just like he does here in Death of a Unicorn. You know, again, in regards to the scares, there's not much of that happening in this one here at all. You know, the trailer and early parts of the film very much telegraph the carnage that you are going to see in it. None of this should be a surprise at all. Again, Ortega's character very bluntly states what's going to happen to pretty much everybody in this film. And then when it does happen, it's glorious, it's hilarious, it's bloody. There's a lot of blood, a lot of gore, a lot of guts in this film for sure, but there is nothing in terms of scares of this one. Very much a black comedy with some horror tropes in it for sure. And again, the comedy definitely delivers. The blood and the gore and the action scenes are great in this as well too, but you're not coming and getting a traditional horror movie like you would probably expect. Now, with that being said, I definitely think this is one that y'all should check out, but you got to temper those expectations, because again, no scares in this one at all. And the relationship between Rudd and Ortega's character doesn't play out the way that it reasonably should throughout the film itself. It could be better than what it is. Those are some pitfalls here for this film. But either way, I am very curious of what y'all thought of this one. Let me know in the comment section here if you think that A24 is still firing on all cylinders when it comes to their horror output. Genuinely curious what y'all think about this one. And of course, make sure to get subscribed to my link tree, where you can follow all the horror content that I'm dropping for all of y'all. Still got great stuff coming out for you this week. The best way to get subscribed is go to linktr.ee/T scary movie. If you get subscribed, that's going to give you access to the YouTube page for the video versions of the show, your favorite podcasting platforms, the audio only versions of the show, my Letterboxd page for written reviews and movie rankings throughout the year, my TikTok page for full episodes, movie news, and movie premieres, my Twitch page for horror gaming, and my Fangoria shop page where you can get a 20% discount off anything in the Fangoria shop. Take advantage of that, y'all. Hit that subscribe button no matter where you are watching it. And stay tuned. I got more great content coming out for y'all this week, including reviews for The Rule of Jenny Penn, Season 2 of Mayfair Witches, and you can go back and check out my reviews for The Woman in the Yard, as well 2 new episodes of Tales from the Crypt. It's another double feature. I know y'all are digging those. Hit subscribe because I can bring more content to y'all. But that is it tonight. I appreciate you tuning in. My name is T. We'll be talking scary movies. Stay scared.